Have you ever found yourself caught in a loop of laziness and feeling like you're just not getting anything done no matter what you do? I've been there too, and today we're going to explore how to break free from this cycle and embrace a life filled with faith and intention. Trust me, it's possible, and it starts with just a few small changes. Today's episode is all about transitioning from a lazy girl mindset into one of diligence and success. As Christian moms, our lives are incredibly busy, but we're called to live with purpose and intention, reflecting our faith in everything that we do and leaving a legacy that's worth something behind. I'm here to help you discover practical ways to make that shift. Okay, let's get honest first. What are the things that are keeping us from being diligent and successful? Procrastination is one, lack of motivation is another, and constant distractions are typically the biggest culprits. According to a recent survey, 80% of people admit to procrastinating regularly, and for us moms, add the endless demands of family life, and it's no wonder we feel completely overwhelmed and stuck. But we don't have to stay there. We can overcome these challenges with just the right mindset and tools. First, we need to talk about the roots of laziness. Laziness often comes from a space of feeling completely overwhelmed or not knowing where to start. So it's like the analysis paralysis. I live in that a lot more than I want to. So for us busy moms, it's easy to feel paralyzed by our long to-do list. Proverbs 12:24 speaks to this in a bit. It says, "The hand of the diligent will rule, while the lazy will be put to forced labor." Yikes. This verse reminds us that diligence leads to freedom and success. How can we do this? How can we break free from being stuck in this laziness cycle? First is time management. Prioritize your task. Proverbs 31:27 reminds us, "She looks well to the ways of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness." Make a list of the tasks and prioritize them based on importance and urgency. This is a technique I love using. So it's like, what's the most important and what are the things that have to be done? Sometimes they're not even the same thing, but oftentimes they do correlate. So what is the most important and what are the most urgent? Use a daily or weekly planner, like a visual tool that helps us manage our time effectively, because it ensures that we're focused on the things that we need to get done. And honestly, there's a lot of studies on putting pen to paper and what that does in our mind. So even physically writing in a planner is such a great habit. And I love my planner because it gives me this like sense of organization that I long to have, and it keeps me in this productive mode. One thing too that I found, I'm a pen and paper girl, but that's not super practical. So I love digital planners, and I actually have a few. I'm going to plug those. You can find the link to several different planners I've created that are faith-based for different things in the description of this video. But digital planners are the jam because you can write on them or you can type on them, and it's all in one thing, and it's easy access. It's with you all the time. Love digital planners. Okay, next, you need to goal set. So setting SMART goals. We've heard this acronym for eternity, but specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. That's what SMART stands for. Jeremiah 29:11 tells us, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." So when we are intentional about the choices that we're making, when we are intentional about our time and the time that we've been given, that is serving the Lord well, because we're not sitting idle. We are not allowing things to just happen to us without us having any choice in the matter or making an intentional effort to have it go a certain way. God built all of us with unique skills and gifts, and not to mention his presence that dwells within us. So to limit yourself is really putting a limit on God, and we don't need to do that. God is with us, he's for us, and we can achieve these goals that we set. They may turn out differently than we anticipated, but that's part of the journey too. So breaking down your goals is a big part of setting SMART goals. You want to divide your big goals into smaller, manageable steps. This approach makes it way less daunting and more achievable, because it's like you can get a little bit done, but over the course of a week, a month, big progress is made. You just are intentional about breaking those steps down. So if your goal is to start a side business, begin by setting aside 30 minutes each day to work on it, looking things up, getting your ducks in a row, as they say. So you can break really big goals into very small, manageable tasks. The third way to break free from laziness is overcoming procrastination. The 5-minute rule, I love this. Commit to working on a task for just 5 minutes. Starting is often the hardest part, but once you begin, the momentum follows. I've used this technique a million times and it's incredibly useful. One thing I love to do is set timers. So I have Alexas all around my house. I'll easily just call out, Alexa, set a timer for 5 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever it is for whatever task I'm trying to get done. And it's such a great momentum. And then you hear the chime. And a lot of times I'm in the middle of making progress and I'm like, extend the timer for however many minutes. And you will be so shocked at how much you can truly get done in such a small amount of space. So really try to manage just your the jumpstart of getting it done. Our brain is so stuck in set patterns and it doesn't want to be interrupted. So you have to make the intentional effort to do that. Eliminate distractions is another great one to overcome procrastination, because if you can identify your biggest distractions, you can manage your time much better because you are in control of those. So if it's social media, if it's your phone, if it's your email, if it's TV, if it's talking, I can get in the mode of being a talker and time just ticks on by. I can stand outside and talk to my neighbor for hours. So find ways to minimize these interruptions during your productive hours. For me, it's turning off notifications during work, which is a huge one, and setting good, healthy boundaries for separating work from personal life, because that's another way to get distracted and to procrastinate, because you get caught up in doing the things that you want to do and you allow time to tick by with that. So I set quiet mode on my phone for certain hours in the evening and at night and in the morning. I limit my notifications for set periods of time so that I'm not distracted. I can be all in with where I'm at. You'll be a lot more productive if you're doing that. Think about a typical day. You wake up, the kids need breakfast, there's dishes in the sink, laundry piling up, your phone keeps buzzing with all these messages and all these notifications, and it's so easy to feel overwhelmed and choose to just do nothing instead. But what if you started with just one thing? Make breakfast, then set a timer for 15 minutes to tackle the dishes. Once you start, you'll often find that you want to keep going and it sets you in a mood. They always quote, a lot of time management, productivity coaches, yada, yada, quote this study, and I don't even remember the statistic, but I've heard it a million times, of the type of people that are successful that make their bed, the percentage is like astronomical. Most people that are like successful and juggle all these things make their bed in the morning. And there is this correlation that once you do a productive task and you accomplish something first thing, it sets the mood. For me personally, it is working out and getting ready for the day. If I do those two things, I have an extremely different day if I don't work out and I don't get ready. So for me, being someone who works from home, who stays at home with my kids, and I'm home most of the time, getting ready is a huge catalyst for the type of day that I'm going to have. And I really don't give myself an excuse. It's just, this is what I do. I work out, I get ready for the day. And I typically only have about a 20-minute differentiation between the two. So your most important tasks, try to make them in sync and consecutive, because that'll be good for your brain and it'll get you in a habit that's rote. It's not something you're gonna have to talk yourself into once you establish it. Typically, establishing a habit is 3 months, 3 weeks, 3 weeks to 3 months. So 3 is that magic number. But if you can do something for 3 weeks consecutively, it starts to become a major habit. And if you do that consistently for 3 months, that is it. For me, another thing that I've done is I don't drink soda. And that started when I was in high school. I gave it up for Lent. So that was over 3 weeks. And then I just kept going and it just became a switch. Like, I literally do not drink soda. It's not even something I think about missing at all. It's just not part of my life anymore. A few years ago, I was in an absolute rut, feeling super unmotivated and constantly behind on everything that I was trying to achieve. I decided to just take this leap of faith and implement a lot of the strategies I share with you today. I started small, focusing on setting clear, achievable goals and just managing my time more effectively. Instead of just like having tasks for the day, I set time slots. Like from 12 to 2, I want to do house stuff. 3 to 4, I want to play with the kids. From 10 to 11, I want to tackle my email and do my social media. From 1 to 2, I want to schedule all my calls, like things like that. I just became more like regimented and what time of day was going to be utilized for what type of project, task, part of my routine. Faith plays an absolute critical role in all of this, and I would be amiss to not bring up the fact that when we lean on God's strength, we find the motivation. and the courage to pursue the challenges, to push through them, and to have this intentional life. Like when I think about Jesus and all that he accomplished, he was only here for 33 years. And when he had his influence, that was even a shorter amount of time. So think about the legacy he had. It wasn't because he had a lot of money, he had none. It wasn't because he had a huge house, he didn't have one. It wasn't because he had a lot of nice cars or nice things, he had none. He relied on God singularly to meet all of his needs through the people that he came in contact with. He was fully reliant on God for all of his provision, and he didn't even write down a single thing that he did. Yet his words have changed the world, obviously, changed people's lives. Think about the impact that he had. And he literally had his mouth in his healthy body. It is important that we recognize the significance of what we're doing here and our grand purpose. Our grand purpose is to love God with all our heart and soul, serve and love others as we do unto ourselves. And when you think about that, how does that play out in everyday life? It plays out in every single way. And as long as we're doing that, no matter in what capacity, in what circumstance, in what scenario, if our ultimate goal is to be a light of Christ, we're serving, we're doing our best. And that's the intention I try to set for my day. I want to do the best that I can because I'm trying to live in a way that my whole day is a worship service to the Lord. Philippians 4:13 says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. We know that one back and forth, but it is so true. So having this mindset that I'm here to accomplish, I'm here to get things done, I'm here to put in my best effort. Sure, there are going to be seasons that we can't do that. There's going to be seasons of grief. There's going to be seasons where we're completely incapacitated due to extenuating circumstances. But when you're in a season of norm, boring, mundane, man, there's so much that can be done in them. So I know that there's a lot beyond just talking about routines and all that. I'm someone who has dealt with things like anxiousness and all that stuff. I get worried about saying certain medical terms on here, but I'm a person that can relate to that and I understand mental health a lot. And again, I just want to encourage you, lean into the Lord because whatever season you're in, he's there with you. And laziness, idleness is different than extenuating circumstances. Lazy and idleness is a mindset. It is a routine. It's a habit. So we got to break it. So having a support system is another very essential part to this. Share your goals with a friend, join a community of like-minded women, encourage and have accountability baked into your daily life. So it makes a significant difference. And they did some studies on longevity and long life. And one of the key things to a long life is friendship. It has nothing to do with your health, where you live, how much money you have, any of that. Literally, friendship. I just love that. God built us for community. So neuroscience has a lot to say about laziness and overcoming laziness. I love studying neuroscience because so much of what neuroscientists discover are things that we've always known because of what God tells us in Scripture. I love seeing that. Our brains are wired to seek pleasure and avoid pain, which is why we often procrastinate. But did you know that small actions can rewire your brain for success? Dopamine and motivation. Dopamine is this neurotransmitter associated with pleasure and reward. When we set and achieve small goals, our brain releases this dopamine, which motivates us to keep going. This is why breaking down larger tasks into smaller, manageable steps is such an effective way to manage things. The power of habits is creating positive habits, rewire our brain's pathways. So it's just like I mentioned earlier, now because working out is such a key element to my productivity. Like I've just found that from trial and error of living my life. I don't have any qualms about getting up at 5 a.m. to work out. Doesn't bother me in the slightest. No big deal. Don't even think about it. Even on days that I'm like super tired, my body automatically gets up. I don't even realize like when I get to the gym, it's like, how'd I get here? Luckily, my gym is in my house, but my gym has also been outside of my house and I've done that. But my point, once you build it into your brain, your pathway, the resistance is so minimal. Like the only thing that would keep me from working out is if I was like traveling that day or dead dog sick. Like it's just like that's the only thing that would stop me from working out because it's just so much of a part of my routine. So when we do create powerful, productive habits in our life, it takes about 66 days to form that new habit. So start small, be consistent, but over time, it will have a tremendous impact on your overall goal and progress that you're just attempting to make. The other thing is accountability. Studies show that having an accountability partner increases the likelihood of achieving your goals by 65%. That's huge. If you have a regular check-in with that person, the success rate jumps to 95%. Just someone regularly checking in on you, on your goal, helps you get to your success rate 95% of the time. That's insane. So people who write down their goals are also 42% more likely to achieve them. It goes back to me saying pen to paper. There's a lot of science behind that, and they've shown like when you do that, it imprints on your brain and it helps you achieve what you're doing or remember or recall. I remember for school, that was like my biggest thing with studying. I literally would rewrite my notes from class like 8 times. And so when I went to the test, literally I could just picture the writing on the paper because I read it and rewrote it so many times. That was my hack for school. So take a moment to jot down your goals and review them regularly. So to wrap up, we've explored the importance of transitioning from a lazy mindset to one of diligence and success. And we've discussed practical tips and time management, goal setting, overcoming procrastination with accountability. And we've also talked about neuroscience things behind the motivation and why it works. So remember that adopting a diligent mindset is crucial for achieving success and living a life of purpose and intention. Now, I want to hear from you. So make sure you give your tips for staying motivated in the comments below because we can all learn these types of tricks. They help everyone. Share your thoughts and let us know. Be sure to follow along if you like faith, entrepreneurship, personal development, and relatable life. I'm excited that you're part of this community, and I'm looking forward to getting to know each and every one of you.